We've got a lot to get to, Smokey, but let's talk Jeff Hulme and Midway. Craig just mentioned it, and it kind of rattled me that it was just like a week and a half ago that we had Jeff Hulme on the show talking about Midway this coming season, and now he's on his way to Mansfield Legacy. Your thoughts on just the shock of him kind of leaving out of the blue?
Well, yeah, I do think it's fair to say, and Jeff would admit this, that he was involved in probably anywhere from 2, 3, or 4 different other coaching searches. And I think maybe 1 or 2 that he was could have been even a finalist for. And I think it comes down to, am I surprised he left? No. Am I surprised he left this late in the year? Yeah, because it can be tough, although I think Midway will have plenty of people even this late in the year, maybe not the same amount or even the same quality of depth of quality of candidates, but it's late in the year. I mean, we're talking June, but am I shocked? No. When I kind of got a heads up late last night and then also was able to confirm it this morning, I kind of expected it. I thought it would come at the end of this year, but it almost did come with 2 or 3 other opportunities. He just never did get the confirmation. And so, he's been there 45-17, took them to a state championship. They froze up in that game, as we know, but had a pretty good run. But last year was not good at all.
So now what for Midway? Obviously a coaching search. Do you have any inclination of where they might start to look? I noticed that you had put a tweet up saying that this could create a domino effect in Central Texas, and I saw, some person was like, nah, whatever, but what are your kind of early indications on this search?
Well, I don't have specific names right now because that's again, I don't even know if Jeff has actually turned in his resignation. I know he was going to meet with the staff earlier today, cannot meet with the kids until on Monday, and then you have that 10-day protocol, so to speak. But I would think that you look at anyone who's been attached to the program in recent years, whether under Terry Gamble and or even under Jeff Hulme. And what I mean by domino effect is let's say that it's a job locally. I like, for example, I don't know who's the next coach. I just had somebody text me and said, hey, do you think, I don't know who that next person is. I just know what would make sense. Terry Gamble's no longer at Allen, and he had an incredible run, as we know, at Midway. But some of his coaches who were with him at Allen have already now become head coaches elsewhere at some pretty high-level schools. There's then the others who have been with him. And I think it would be fair to say that Conley Shane Anderson would be somebody that might be interested in the job because he's been there before. I think it's fair to say that they maybe even look for names like a Tommy Allison, who's at Hallsville, as somebody that could be interested in the job. I have not talked to Tommy about the job, but I would think that he is somebody. The person that really was down to the wire with the job that Jeff Hulme got was Sean Bell. That's not going to happen. Sean was at Cedar Ridge, as you both know. In fact, hammered Midway in the game that they played earlier in the year after the two had taken the jobs at Cedar Ridge and Midway. But he's set. I mean, Sean Bell has skyrocketed with what his value is as the quarterback's coach at a college football team, a Power 5 team. But I think it's fair to say those are just some people. I would think you got to go to those who've been connected to Midway in the past at some point as where you have a starting point. But when you're in the district they're in, with Duncanville, DeSoto, and Cedar Hill, not to mention the others, there's going to be some that don't want to touch it. There's going to be some that don't want to touch it this late. And then again, there's going to be some that say, hey, this is an opportunity for me, and I need to take it because Midway still has a chance. They just really had a bad year last year. 1, because of the district, and 2, they were down. And now the question is, who can they get in there to bring them back up again?
Craig mentioned this earlier. It's June 3rd. It's not March 3rd. How fast do they really have to make this move?
Oh, you have these new rules in the UIL where you can work out with your players, or you can have some off-season stuff during the summer that you couldn't before. We just talked earlier. Oh my goodness, I just went blank on the coach though. The coach at Ellison, Coach Cervance. I mean, he probably doesn't take the job, even though he was looking for one. He may not take the job at Ellison if it's not for the UIL now allowing coaches to be a part of some off-season during the summer. I think it's critical. You're coming off 2-7. They just had their spring game, so at least they had a full spring and they have the game. But I think it's critical. Here's another thing. It's not just who you hire as a head coach. It's who can that head coach either, one, bring with him, which might be tough, or number two, piece together a staff from other people that might be spread out throughout the state of Texas. But I think this is what I think. Jeff will turn in his resignation if he hasn't already. Again, I think he was supposed to talk to his coaching staff earlier today. Here's what happens. You do that, he resigns, then Baylor, then Midway posts the job. It goes up there for 10 days, and I would think that within within a week or two after that, you might kind of have to pull the trigger and know what you want to do.
Well, I don't really have much else to ask about this. I mean, if we had candidates to talk about, that would be one thing. But you kind of already brought up some who might potentially be there. I don't know. Do you have anything else? Just thoughts on this move by Jeff Hulme? Anything we haven't touched on?
Well, I'll say this about Jeff. First of all, 45-17. They had a great run. Last year and even the year before that, it was not easy. There were starting to be some people that started to increase the heat. 2-7 is not acceptable at Midway, and you have to be able to shut the valve off. And if I'm Jeff Hulme, he didn't tell me this. If I'm Jeff Hulme, and this is just from discussions with him the last 5 to 10 months, if I'm Jeff Hulme, I understand the Midway stand. And no matter if it's DeSoto, Duncanville, Cedar Hill, and anyone else, it's the standard. Plus, remember, let's not forget they played Westlake to start the year when they were supposed to open up against Permian. So that was another just automatic loss. No matter if they had all these other good teams under Gamble and Jeff, that's 4 teams that you probably, I don't know if you win those 4 games year in and year out, you probably might not win 1 or 2. So I think that he probably looks at it this way. 2-7, same district. Who knows what the UIL is going to do next February or what's going to happen there. He wants to continue to coach, probably looking for some stability, and perhaps he didn't feel like he had it like he thought he did in his first 5 years here, and so why not find a place where he knows he can go, where he also knows because of his experience at Mansfield ISD in the first place.
Yeah, and I think some people think, recency, bias or whatever when they think about Midway last year, but just 3 years ago, they were one of the best teams in the state in a team that could.
No question.
I mean, the what they built, that team with the talent that they had, and not only there's plenty of teams with talent, but the way everything kind of went their way because they were so well coached 3 years ago shows you what kind of coach Jeff Hulme is, and he'll have success wherever he's going to be.
Yeah, no, I mean, what last year was a combination of probably 3 things. One, they were down a little bit, and Jeff even had told me that they probably had like a little bit of you have certain classes. You can see that coaches they know. That doesn't mean he's saying that there wasn't talent because you had Gibson, you had McDonough, you had others as well that were, you had some people there. But, you look at who signed football scholarships at Midway this year, and I'll wait. I mean, I'll sit back and wait for you to tell me who it was. And so they were down a little bit. Now, they feel like they had a pretty good spring in a game as well. 2-7 was a combination of some of it was COVID, some of it was a down year, and also the other part of it was there's not a better district in the top 3, 4, 5 teams in the state of Texas, and there are some good ones in that level at 6A than what you have with Duncanville, DeSoto, Cedar Hill, and then also with Midway, Waxahachie, Mansfield, whatever. And I'll say this as well. And for the longest time, Midway was probably in a district that they were always going to compete and always did. In fact, won, 10 or 11 consecutive district titles because other than Temple or Copper's Cove on occasion, giving them something, a Shoemaker upset, they pretty much ran it for a decade. And so it kind of flipped on them when the UIL made the differences in the districts the last year.
All right, Smokey, well, enjoy your trip. We'll see you here in a few days.
Thank you, guys. Enjoy. Thank you.
All right, there's Smokey. Should get